When soldiers in the Second World War were sent into forests, deserts, swamps and mountains, they weren't just fighting an enemy, they were fighting nature itself. Supply lines were often cut, rations ran low, and equipment broke down under strain. Survival became less about what you carried on your back and more about what you knew. These men lived under pressure few today can imagine, and their lessons in fieldcraft were often the difference between life and death. For those interested in survival, prepping, or simply understanding how humans adapt in crisis, the field tricks developed during the Second World War still hold value today. Learning how to move unseen was the first survival lesson. One of the most important skills soldiers relied on was the ability to move quietly and remain hidden. Camouflage wasn't just about wearing a patterned uniform. It meant blending with the terrain, breaking up the human outline and controlling movement. Soldiers learned to crawl, using elbows and knees to reduce noise, staying low to avoid skyline silhouettes, and using shadows for cover. Civilians and survivalists can apply this today when hunting, avoiding detection in crisis, or even protecting property. Moving with awareness, stepping heel to toe on soft ground and pausing often, minimizes sound. Practicing this in woodland or field conditions trains muscle memory that could one day prove useful. Fire was treated as both a necessity and a danger. A campfire could mean warmth, cooked food and morale, but it could also give away a position to the enemy. Soldiers learned how to build small, low-smoke fires using dry twigs, digging pits to shield flames, and keeping fuel limited to what was immediately needed. The Dakota fire hole, a method where two small pits are dug and connected by a tunnel, allowed heat to rise while limiting visible smoke. For anyone in a survival situation today, this method is ideal not only for stealth, but also for conserving fuel and producing hotter, more efficient burns. A simple practice is digging a 12-inch hole for the fire chamber and a second hole slightly smaller a foot away, connecting them underground. With dry wood, the result is nearly smokeless. Shelter was improvised with speed and efficiency. In battle zones, soldiers rarely had the luxury of time to build elaborate shelters. They made do with ponchos, branches, and whatever natural cover was available. Lean-tos, A-frame shelters, or simply sleeping under evergreen boughs became standard practice. The lesson here is adaptability. Water was prioritized before anything else. One of the most overlooked aspects of soldier fieldcraft was how they sourced and purified water. Soldiers in jungles often boiled it in mess tins. In deserts they dug small seep holes in dry riverbeds to collect filtered groundwater. They also used cloth to strain debris and relied on iodine tablets when provided. The practical takeaway is that water is never assumed safe. Even a clear mountain stream can carry parasites. For civilians, learning to dig shallow pits in sandy soil near rivers, filtering with cloth, or carrying iodine tablets can provide real security. A practical ratio often used is 2 drops of iodine per quart of water, left to stand for 30 minutes, a rule that still holds up. Foraging and food gathering filled the gaps in rations. When supply lines failed, soldiers turned to the land. In Europe, wild greens like nettles and dandelions were boiled into soups. In the Pacific, coconuts provided both water and calories. Soldiers also set simple snares with wire, string or shoelaces to catch rabbits or birds. The fieldcraft lesson is resourcefulness. Knowing the edible plants and animals in your region ahead of time prevents desperation later. A modern survivalist might practice by identifying 3 to 5 local wild edibles and preparing them safely. Even something as simple as boiling nettles for 5 minutes to remove the sting turns a weed into a nourishing vegetable. Navigation was done without electronics. Wutu soldiers relied heavily on compass and map, but also trained themselves to read the land. They used moss on trees, the position of the sun, and the flow of rivers to maintain direction. In cloudy conditions, they tracked wind patterns and terrain slopes. Today, this lesson is more relevant than ever, given how dependent many have become on GPS. Practicing land navigation by pacing distances, using a compass to set bearings, and reading terrain features is not just a historical curiosity but a practical survival skill. One simple method soldiers used was to choose a landmark, walk directly toward it, and then pick the next point, preventing drift. Perhaps the greatest lesson soldiers brought back from the field was that survival hinged less on gear and more on mindset. Soldiers who stayed calm, adapted quickly, and made use of whatever was at hand fared better than those who panicked. Simple routines like cleaning a rifle, boiling water at the same time each evening, or setting up a small perimeter gave structure in chaos. For civilians, developing routines and practicing self-discipline in stressful situations can stabilize the mind. Even setting small goals, such as gathering enough firewood for the night before resting, mirrors the soldier's method of breaking survival into manageable tasks. The fieldcraft lessons WWII soldiers practiced weren't theoretical. They were tested under the most unforgiving conditions. From mastering stealth and fire control to securing water, food and shelter, these men relied on knowledge that remains just as practical today. For modern survivalists, preppers, or simply those who want to build resilience, these methods offer a foundation built on real experience. History gives us the advantage of hindsight, and applying these skills ensures that the wisdom of those who endured hardship is never lost. If you found this guide valuable, make sure to subscribe to the channel and share it with others who take survival and history as seriously as you do.